So welcome to the Alcatel webinar being run by Novola. Hope everyone is safe and sitting nicely warm with a cup of coffee. We won't keep you for too long, hopefully. The idea is today we're going to run through the slides, and then as we go along, if you've got questions, please ping them over. I don't know whether you know me. I'm Michael Lloyd, the MD of Novola Distribution. I'm going to do a bit of talking at the start. Running the show behind the scenes is Katrina. She's the one with the funny accent. She will be, so any questions you have, ping them over to her. She's going to manage that at the end. What some questions that people send in anonymously, or if you want to put your name to it, it doesn't matter. Either way, no rude ones, please. On the Alcatel side of things, we're pleased to have Nick Milnes, who again has been around the Alcatel world for some time. He's UK distribution manager, works very closely with us and Novola. Someone else has been around the Alcatel world quite some time. Chris Derham had a number of roles. At the moment, he's focusing quite heavily on the networking side of things. So he will be chatting away with some ideas and thoughts around the networking side of things. And then finally, someone else who's been around the Alcatel world, Tony Kelsaw, the encyclopedia when it comes to networks. Three guys, I think it's a good sign for Alcatel. Unlike many other vendors, the revolving door is quite popular. As you can see, we're quite pleased to have some old hands. I'll say that politely. So just very quickly, just a bit about Novola, if you don't know. We started in over 10 years ago now. Wow. As New Arch Communications, we used to just deliver services, white label services to the channel. And that's where the professional services arm is kind of born out of. We then in 2013 took over the distribution for Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise, which kind of moved us into the distribution world. And the word VAD is thrown around quite heavily. We look at, as you see from our tagline, we're a technology and services distributor. So what that means is every product we sell, we understand technically. We have a help desk I'll come into, but it's about delivering services around those products, enabling our partners to go out and sell them without having to skill up particularly or invest a great deal of money. So we are, like I say, we offer services around all our vendors, including Alcatel. So we have quite an array of skills within the Alcatel portfolio in our engineering team. So, you know, as a company, we don't have a massive amount of vendors. I'm just going to come on to them. But what we do, the vendors we do have, we're quite heavily entrenched with. We skill up both sales, pre-sales, and the technical side of things. Presence, so we've got head office in Swallowfield, just on the other side of the motorway from the Bajajski Stadium, if you know it. And then we also have an office in Ireland. This for a number of reasons, but you know, you probably can guess one of the main reasons. We do a lot of business in Europe, and with something going on from January the 1st, we felt a presence over there is viable and very useful, and you know, you'll see more of that in the coming weeks. So I mean, the services we offer, it's pre-sales, sales, logistics, obviously on the warehousing side of things, help desk 24/7. We offer support and maintenance on our products. The word finance, you know, we as a distributor, we take quite a few risks, and we try and offer that kind of risks to our resellers, who can then potentially get into opportunities where they might not have felt comfortable previously. Marketing, so Mark Highland and Katrina, who's on the call today, they offer marketing services, and we work very closely with a lot of our partners, putting together campaigns, giving them ideas of what we think is good and bad, and also working with the vendors such as Alcatel with some marketing funds to try and maybe get into certain verticals where the resellers are strong in, and you think, well, I could exploit this even further. So a lot of services there, and again, in the Alcatel world, you might recognize those two ugly fellas in the picture. So just something else that you might not know about, we actually do have partners, like it says here, 42 countries of the world. We do business in Russia, for our sins, all the way over to obviously the States, Canada, Kazakhstan, all very far away places, Brazil. So, you know, as a business, we're not just UK centric. We're UK and Ireland when it comes to Alcatel-Lucent, but certainly we have relationships around Europe. You can see quite heavily, certainly in the DAC region, Southern Europe, we're very, very strong and have relationships already over there. So just quickly on what we do at Novola. Again, there's going to be vendors here who are competition to Alcatel, but again, we're transparent here, and I just want to run through what we do, and you'll see why we have these vendors in place. So we have a division called Cloud, which is technology as services. In effect, that is any service that can be delivered via the cloud. And you can see some quite well-known names there, including Rainbow, which is Alcatel's UCaaS offering. We've had a lot of experience in the cloud market. Probably we've had our own hosted solution probably for 5 years. So we kind of built this and thought we can add value to the partners, whether it be in consultancy, giving them an idea of what products they should position, the risks, the gotchas, etc., etc. Then we have something what we call intelligent networking. This is kind of like layer one. This is network monitoring. This is SBCs. These are aggregation modules, gateways, so the SBC and gateways, and obviously this includes Alcatel-Lucent. They've got a very strong data offering, as we're going to go into today, which allows them to be positioned into data centers, gives them the opportunity to be that piece in the jigsaw, which is key for a lot of these larger organizations who are putting things in the cloud, for example, having these data centers which are becoming key to their infrastructure, and Alcatel are firmly in that position. So intelligent networking, it's all around the data, taking it from A to B, monitoring it, what ifs, converting it, whatever it might be. Obviously, the tradition of Alcatel and Novola is the unified comms, born out of the voice world in effect. So Alcatel-Lucent obviously are key in that product set. We also work with Sangoma, who 2 years ago brought Digium, JPL. So we have some very key products on the headset side of things. Again, you can imagine just last 8 months that's been quite popular out there. And we've chosen these headsets. They're cost competitive and work very, very well with all the products we sell. And then we have a couple of contact center solutions, Varela and Braxtel. Varela also do voice recording. So these are quite specific, certainly to the Alcatel world, and work very closely with Alcatel. And then finally, we got Fanville, which are just SIP endpoints. Again, working with the cloud environment or delivering just simple SIP devices to any of the other products we sell. And then the second from last silo is professional services. Like I said, this is kind of what the business was born out of. And you can see there's just a number of products where we deliver professional services on behalf of these vendors, whether it be via the resellers or whether it be directly in contact with the actual vendors themselves. So some of these vendors will approach us and say, can you deliver white label services to our resellers? Or some of our resellers will come to us and say, right, can you deliver white label services into our end users? We've been doing this for 10 years, very good at it, very professional. We understand the behavior. We understand exactly setting the right expectations. You can see in there some contact center skills as well. So the engineers we have are not simple level 1 engineers, they're 2 and 3. And they are the same people who answer the phones when we have a help desk. So if you phone our help desk 24/7, where we offer support packages, you will be answered by a level 2 or 3 engineer. So for us, that means the problem is solved quicker. It might be looked upon as being quite an expensive resource having sitting there, but we'd rather get the problem solved that we saw, then we can move on. And then the newest silo is meeting room solutions. So we saw before the pandemic, so in September, October, we saw meeting room video was becoming very, very prominent in a solution requirement when it comes to the enterprises. And that said, what we did, we took on Ava, who have some very large interactive screens, but mainly known for soundbars and cameras, high-end soundbar, 4K cameras, high-end soundbars. i3 Technologies, who offer the screens, so these are interactive screens, amazingly intelligent, and does away with cables, does away with all the confusing setup procedure you get into when you go into a meeting room. And have you got the right app? Have you got this? This is a very simple. In effect, these interactive screens are like giant iPads. So you share files, bring in people, whiteboard, etc., etc. And then finally, Poly, which you all know. Again, they have some very slick video solutions now, which will connect to the interactive screens that we're talking about. So again, it's presenting the total solution. So if you have an opportunity anywhere, that you can talk about any of these silos to your customers. And like I say from the start, they're all linked. So they're intrinsically linked. They're all there for a reason. It's something that we'll always build on. We'll be adding new partners into this mix, but we only add partners that fit into the solution that we talk about, the skill sets we can offer. And it's very key for us moving forward. But today it's all about Alcatel-Lucent, and the guys will take it away now. I'm going to move aside. I'll be back later. So,
right. Thanks, Michael. I'm Nick Milnes, Distribution Manager for Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise. Today, I'm going to talk to you about who we are and what we can do for you. Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise is a global company present in over 50 countries across the world. The good news for you is that we do not sell direct. We are a 100% indirect sales model company with nearly 3,000 partners to date. Our strategy. ALE are experts in helping our customers on their digital transformation journey. Our vertical approach, focusing but not excluding on 5 key verticals: transport, health, hospitality, education, and the public sector. This approach ensures our solutions help deliver increased productivity and an enhanced user experience. IoT is here. Connected devices are all around us, bringing a tsunami of data with it. If your infrastructure isn't ready to keep up with this fast changing requirement, you'll find yourself falling behind your competition. Digitalization, mobility, location-based services, and the Internet of Things are all topics that play an enormous important role today. Companies and organizations have a challenge of interconnecting employees, customers, and processes. This requires many components, from the end device to the communication system and the company network, whether that's wired or wireless. Alcatel-Lucent does it all. Our solutions are tailored to our customers' industry, providing built-in security and limited environmental impact. We do offer flexible business models in the cloud, on-premise, or hybrid. 100 years. So there's not many technological companies that can kind of say that they've been around for 100 years. Why have we been around 100 years? 100 years of innovation has made us a trusted advisor to more than 830,000 customers around the world. We make everything connect by delivering digital age networking, communications, and cloud solutions tailored for our customers' success. To demonstrate our continued innovation, UC Today named our CEO, Jack Chen, as one of their top 10 unified communication and collaboration influencers of 2020. That just shows you that, 100 years of a company, yet still innovating. You'll see here some statistics that show the strong position of ALE in the global telecoms and network market. One aspect of our portfolio that we're particularly proud of is our Rainbow digital platform. Not only another UC tool, but also a communication platform as a service, CPaaS tool. This is an all-encompassing communication platform that enables developers to add real-time communication features such as voice, video, and messaging to their own applications without needing to build back-end infrastructure and interfaces. The Rainbow CPaaS platform creates the relationship between people, objects, and systems to deliver the desired outcomes. It enables businesses to integrate with their customers in an end-to-end business process, thereby establishing a business to customer relationship. This means that businesses are able to interact with their employees, customers, and other stakeholders through one platform. So why work with ALE? We are changing how businesses can buy technology, how they deploy it, use it, leverage it. We're tailoring our solutions to our customers, their people, their processes, their customers. This, we believe, is what truly differentiates us in the market, on-premise, hybrid, or cloud. Please talk to Novola about becoming an ALE partner to ensure the success of your business. I will now pass you over to Chris Derham from our Network Business Engine team. We'll talk to you about the OmniVista management tool.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining the call today. As Nick said, I am Chris Derham, and as Michael said, I've been in the company in ALE for quite a long time. So I kind of know the solutions and have been around for since the Xylan days, which were in the 90s. So I've been in and out of the company a few times and been involved with ALE for a long, long time. So I want to talk about why OmniVista Cirrus. So what is OmniVista Cirrus? OmniVista Cirrus is our network management platform in the cloud. But before I do that, I just want to go through very quickly what our view of networking is today. So networks have changed massively over the last few years, and this is all being driven by digital transformation. Everything has become digital. Everything is now IP. So there's huge changes in the network. So what do you need to do? You need to make the network more autonomous. So you need to try and automate as much as you can the network operations. Networks are now mission critical. As I said, everything's IP, everything's digital. The network is not just something that's a nice to have, it's absolutely mission critical. So how do we automate that to improve the user experience? And then Nick has already mentioned IoT. There's a huge explosion in IoT. IoT is driving the digitalization. And there are a lot of issues around IoT with security, management of the IoT devices. So how do you scale that up through onboarding and management of IoT devices? And there's also one other area, which is business innovation. So Nick's talked about innovation. And this is where we bring in Rainbow as a CPaaS application to talk to IoT management software and to really help that transformation into the new world. So why use the network management system? Well, I think the three previous statements pretty much drive you into why use a management system. So, in the olden days, a management system was something that's nice to have, and a lot of people didn't really go for it. But now, because of everything that's happening, you need to have a management system. Networks have become complicated, so you need to manage this complicated infrastructure. you're not just managing your devices, your network switches, your Wi-Fi devices. You're also now managing IoTs. You're putting floor maps in there. You've got Wi-Fi. You've got LAN. You've got guest access, captive portal. All these different things are driving the need for network management. And when you put network management in the cloud, it's a multi-tenant, high availability system. So why from the cloud? So quite simply, there's nothing for you to deploy on site. It is done for you. So all the equipment also is automatically contacts the Cirrus instance, and will then take that configuration, and I'll talk about a little later as how that's done. And of course, there's no footprint. You just need a web browser. So it makes it much easier for companies to operate the network management system. They don't need to think about servers. They don't need to think about high availability. They just need to think about, have I got a connection to the internet? That's it. And there is no maintenance. There's no patches required, no bug fixes. Everything there is done by ALE staff. And just so you're aware, this is hosted in Amazon Web Services in various locations around the globe. And you're always on the latest version. You don't need to worry about, oh, I need a patch to support some new equipment. It will always be on the very latest release. And it's simple. And I say it's really, really simple. It's self-registration from the cloud, and you just set up the admin accounts. But we could do that via Novola as well. There's different ways to look at how we set up the OmniVista Cirrus. Now, there is another version of OmniVista, which is on-premise, which is called OmniVista 2500. That system is exactly the same. You just need servers, you need to install it. So here we're talking about the ease of use, how to make it easy for partners to get on board with our networking technology. You don't need to know absolutely everything about it. You don't need that huge skill set, which you may need for another vendor to start with us, because what we can do is work with Novola. Novola have got the skills. They can set up the management side for you. They can do the configuration remotely. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And again, we're talking here, it's managed from the cloud or on-premise, as I've said, and it's the same for all our LAN and wireless LAN. Now, this is a big differentiator for us, is we have the option to have on-premise or cloud, and we can manage all our technology, LAN and wireless LAN, irrespective of which technology you choose as the management platform. And with Cirrus, we also include hardware and software support for the hardware that goes on site as part of the Cirrus subscription. It's scalable, it's resilient, and it's secure. So I think one of the things many people ask is, what about data protection? It is GDPR compliant, 100%. So there's a secure connection from the site or from the device to the OmniVista cloud. Everything is secure, and it gives you that availability and reliability, and can scale currently up to 5,000 devices per subscription. This is one customer can have 5,000 switches and APs in a single network management instance. I talked before about managing IoTs. You can have as many of those as you want. You can have 1 million IoT devices. There's no limit on that. So really, how can it help? Well, I think the first thing is it is obviously available in the UK, or we wouldn't be talking about OmniVista Cirrus right now. It's ready for partners in eligible countries, of which the UK is one. It provides all the essential network management functions that you want for both wired and wireless, and allows you to provide managed services because it has native multi-tenancy. You can set up as many tenants as you want underneath your instance, or you can have multiple instances. There's lots of different ways of cutting the cake, in effect. And it also provides you with user mobility. You get BYOD and guest licenses built in with every AP license that you purchase. There's an automation of IoT onboarding containment, which is based on IoT fingerprinting, and I think Tony will touch on that later, so I won't steal his thunder. And we have a great little tool which is in OmniVista, which is UPAM, Unified Policy Authentication, and Tony will touch on that. But basically, that means any device, user object can be given a profile on the network which is secure. And so that's anything, and that's across wired or wireless. And for Wi-Fi, we're kind of scaling up, and this has gone up from 500 APs sort of 2 years ago to 4,000 APs per tenant now, and we are in the next stage of development where there'll be up to 20,000 APs per instance. So it's a pretty big, powerful management service. And again, we talked about the BYOD, guest access, and the IoT containment, and just automating as many processes as humanly possible. So it just makes it so easy for you to sell the switches and the APs, let Novola do the configuration for you, that initial configuration, it's all set up for you. I don't like this slide, but I did want to show it just to show you how it could work. So in effect here, Novola will own an instance of OmniVista. And then underneath this, the indirect reseller could take that level of admin, or you can fire that over to Novola, they can do that for you. And then underneath that, you can have your customers, and your customers can break down into different locations, different sites. You can kind of do what you want. So it's a very flexible model and allows you to do exactly what you know. You may even give certain users only views of IoT, or only views of certain switches, or only views of wireless LAN. Loads of different things you can do. So it's fully multi-tenant and fully secure and highly available. Now, the last slide for me is just this, which really goes through sort of why OmniVista Cirrus. When the COVID outbreak started, we were having a lot of problems in actually provisioning equipment on customers' sites because nobody was allowed to visit site. So if you think about this, of having an engineer that doesn't have the huge skills with Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise, or the customer themselves, they can just plug in the device, power it up. The devices are then discovered automatically via OV. Now, this is obviously assuming there is an internet connection at this site, so it's via the cloud. Then the licenses are provisioned, and the configuration settings are basically sent down to the switches, the APs, network's ready to go. So it is really, really easy. And we actually found quite a few customers during the COVID outbreak, when you couldn't go to site, decided to go for OmniVista Cirrus because they were allowed to site as the customer themselves. They plugged the kit in. Everything else was done remotely, and it really just kept that business continuity going. And with that, I will hand over to my colleague Tony Kelsall, our pre-sales architect from the UK. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Tony Kelsall here. I'm a solutions architect for Alcatel-Lucent. I've been involved in networking for many years across just about every vendor you can think about, and been with Alcatel 13 years and worked on their kit before that as well. So what I'm about to say hopefully will dovetail into what Chris has been saying, and give you a view of the architecture of what Alcatel-Lucent can do. So what's driving changing in network? Trying to get my screen working. So, I mean, there's many things driving changes in network. I mean, application, security, IoT. What I'm going to focus on is the architecture. I've chosen Wi-Fi here because the new iteration of Wi-Fi 6 means that you've got 2.5 or 5 gigabit ports on your APs, which means that your customers' access layer switches are going to have to change because they'll probably be running switches that only run 1 gigabit, which may mean then that they'll change their core from 1 gigabit uplinks to 10 gigabit uplinks to provide the bandwidth. So Wi-Fi is having a great bearing on the network infrastructure. Add to that the 6E, Wi-Fi 6 Enhanced that's out next year. You're going to see 5 gig and 10 gig ports on those Wi-Fi APs coming down the line. So Wi-Fi is having a big effect on the network. So what does this mean for the network? So we have two architectures for wireless LAN networking. We have the controller-based solution on your left, and we have a solution on your right-hand side, which is a distributed architecture. Now, we just talked about the effects of 2.55 gig, 10 gigabit ports on APs, which is possibly going to cause problems. Well, it will cause problems with controllers and throughput. So the age of the controller is probably is on its last legs. Cisco announced this a couple of years ago. You'll see other vendors who are bringing out virtual controllers now, because if they brought out physical controllers, then these physical controllers would become bottlenecks. So they have a virtual controller, which means that you have to go through the problem of creating a new virtual machine on your VMware, if you have VMware solutions running in your network. So the distributed architecture, what that does basically, it's controllerless, so it's more cost effective. It's easier to troubleshoot because you've got less parts to the solution, and it makes decisions at the AP instead of at the controller. So if you're making decisions at the AP, not back at the controller, i.e. you're not tromboning back across the network, then you can make that decision making quicker, and you can give people a much better Wi-Fi experience. So I just thought I'd show you the Alcatel kit bag. Really, we've been around 100 years. These switches are 100 years old, but you know, we've got a large portfolio from data center right down to SMB, Wi-Fi, hardened switches, the management solutions on the bottom there, OmniVista 2500 and OmniVista Cirrus, as Chris spoke about. So everything's there. You know, we've got architecture that's been around quite a while. It's tried and tested. So how can we make it simple for you? So Chris mentioned that, you know, things are getting a bit complicated. We're managing applications, we're managing security. How are we going to allow IoT onto our network and keep it secure? These are all the issues that we face, and also making it simpler for you guys to install, configure, and troubleshoot. So we're simplifying it by, first of all, by a management system on OmniVista 2500 for on-prem or Cirrus, as Chris said before. This basically is your control tower that you would see at an airport. It manages everything on your network, whether it's applications like Facebook, Salesforce, any application that you can think about, email. It's all managed from OmniVista and our solution network and AP and wired solution. So this guy is really the eye into your network. It's the troubleshooter, but it's also a door into your network as well. It provides network access control, as Chris alluded to before. It has a solution embedded into it called UPAM, which is our Unified Policy Access Management, quite a mouthful. Basically what that means is it's the decision maker. As I said before, it's a control tower that says, yes, you can come onto my network, or no, you cannot. And when you come onto my network, I will put you into secure containers. I will manage you whether you connect via wired or wireless. I will do troubleshooting. I can look at switches and APs. It's a real unified access solution. As me and my colleague Carlos has been going around installing proof of concepts for customers, the words we get back from customers is that, you know, you guys really do provide a unified access solution across wired and wireless from the cloud to the on-prem. They've tried other vendors and it doesn't happen across all their portfolio, unlike Alcatel-Lucent. So how can we make it smart? So it's about plug and play networking, and I'll just go through my slides here, my animations quickly, because we're limited on time. So you've probably already experienced, you plug an AP into a network, it gets an IP address, and you've got a wireless network. And it's the same with switches now. So basically what you do is you plug the switch into the network, it gets an IP address, it contacts OmniVista. OmniVista knows that that switch is based on an access layer or a core, and it's in building A, B, C, or D because of its serial number. It will download the configuration to that switch. The switch will then become live, and it will then become visible within the network manager, as you can see at the bottom center of the screen there. So basically, you send the switch to site, you can send it in a box, someone plugs it in, and away you go. So this is what's making it smart and you know, taking away that complexity that Chris mentioned before. So how can we make it secure? So not very often do you hear automation and secure being mentioned in the same sentence, because they seem to contradict each other. If something's automated, then how can you make it secure? So the way that we do this, as we said before, is that we create these profiles that you can see just coming up on the screen. These profiles, or containers, if you like to call them, what they do is, if an IoT device comes onto the network, or if a user comes onto the network, I mean, an IoT device could basically be anything at all you want it to be. It could be a camera, could be a door lock, could be signage, it could be someone in faculty if it was a university or a school, colleges, etc. It could be a sensor in a bin collector, saying when the bin is full. So when you plug these sensors into the wired or the wireless part of the network, then you want them to be allowed onto the network automatically. You don't want a network management guy just sat there all day saying, yes, that can come onto my network, or no, it can't. So when that device or that user comes onto the network, OmniVista looks at that device, that IoT device, or that laptop or smartphone, and it drops it into one of these containers here, and it has a security wrap around that container. And that security wrap means that those users, those IoT devices, can only connect to certain servers on the network. So for example, let's take the security camera container on the top right hand side there. So a camera is placed on the edge of a building, it's plugged into the network on a switch, or it can connect via Wi-Fi. OmniVista sees that security container, that camera, and it drops it into that container. And it says within that container, the security rules say you can only talk to the security camera database. You can't talk to anything else on the network. And an animated view of it is here. So again, you've got your network on the left-hand side, top left, with your AP and your switches. You've got OmniVista, whether that's in the cloud or whether that's on site. And you have something called Fingerbank, which has a repository of something like 27 million DHCP fingerprints that are unique to devices. So the IoT devices, again, we'll just talk as IoT as being anything, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a sensor, a smoke alarm, a cash register, a camera, a door lock. You can see there. We don't care whether it plugs into your network via Wi-Fi, via wired, via Zigbee, via Bluetooth. We just know it connects to the network. So you connect to the network via the Wi-Fi or the Ethernet port, as we said before. What happens then is that you request an IP address, or you start to do some network connectivity. We then sniff that network connectivity. We sniff that DHCP fingerprint. If we don't know what that fingerprint is, then we ask Fingerbank in the cloud what it is, and Fingerbank will come across and say, for example, as I said before in the example of the security camera, that device that's just come onto the network is a security camera. I'm going to drop it into that category. So OmniVista then drops this security camera into that container. It's got a VLAN there, the access role profile or the container has VLAN 10 associated to that camera. It has a security wrap around that camera, policies, etc. As I said before, so that camera can only access the camera database. What that also means is that if someone breaks into that camera, if that's an Ethernet wired connection from the camera on the outside of the building, then someone could basically get up on a pair of ladders, disconnect the Ethernet, plug his laptop in, and he's onto your network. The thing there is that because of the security profile, it will only be allowed to access that container where the camera is. So it will only be able to affect the containers, the camera container. It won't be able to affect any other container. For other containers could be your your core network or your different user types. If you're a government organization, you could have schools or social services or refuse collection. So it only affects that particular container. And once this device comes onto the network, it's monitored 7/24. You can create reports, you can get alerts from OmniVista about any device that comes onto your network. So we've made it simple with one management NAC solution, OmniVista Cloud or on-premise. We've made it smart with plug-and-play networking, automating connection, intelligent that it can look at applications as well, and we can still bring security to play within this solution by our containerization at the access layer. So not only now do you have a firewall around your perimeter, you also have firewalls around every individual user or individual device that connects to your network. So why Alcatel-Lucent? So as Nick said before, we've been around for 100 years, so we're not going to be going anywhere. We can offer cloud, LAN, wireless LAN, you know, provide solutions that are equivalent and are better than our main competitors out there. Smart networking, whether it's access layer, whether it's core, whether it's data center, whether it's small environments, we can offer that solution. Service-defined networking. So basically what that means is that a user or a device comes onto the network and it only can connect to a service that that user or that IoT device was designed to connect to. It can't connect to all your network. It's segmented, should I say. There's micro segmentation going off on your network. And we've got this enhanced security with our containerization with IoT. And just to say with the network management as well, if you got the network management that was on premise, then you can get that basically free of charge for 10 switches and 10 APs. So if you're dealing a lot with SMB customers who have got less than 10 switches and 10 APs, then they've got this solution basically free of charge. Last but not least on my slide, we have a website called Spacewalkers, which you guys can log into. You'll get these slides, I believe. So if you don't take note of the web address, then you can find out where it is later and have a look round to what we do. Lots of our customers are connecting to there, so you'll get real comments, real life comments about our solution is working. So now I'm going to hand back to Mike, who's going to wrap up.
Cheers, Tony. Much appreciated. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll do some Q&As. Before that, I just wanted to say that in the world that we are living, you know, the data and the Wi-Fi is key. Whether it be home working, whether it be back of the enterprise for people getting access remotely, whether it when people go back to work, you know, the infrastructure is key. So we find that the comms is quite a busy market, as we all know. Whereas the data, Alcatel are in a great position with their history. As we mentioned, the Xilin's been around for a long time, which is where the Alcatel product is born out of on the data switches. And it just gives you a different angle, good margin retention. Gone are the days where everyone defaults to Cisco. You know, people are now looking for an alternative. And Alcatel, part of the large enterprise group, which offers voice, cloud, data, Wi-Fi, you know, it's a really strong proposition. And I would suggest as a reseller, you won't be in a very competitive situation because Alcatel are not as over-distributed like Cisco, for example, or HP or those guys. So again, you can go in with what Tony and Chris has been talking about, explaining the differentiators, showing people how Cirrus works, showing how easy it is to manage the network, because again, that's something that does scare people. So with the way the Cirrus works, is it makes it a lot easier to manage, change, add, remove, whatever it might be. So I think it's a key point there. So thanks, guys. Anyway, Katrina, have we got some questions from the floor?
I do have some questions. The first question I have is, what happens when the Cirrus subscription ends? I think I'm going to hand that over probably to Chris.
Yeah, I thought you might, Katrina. Yeah, good question. So yeah, it's always the case with subscriptions that people think, oh well, when my subscription ends, my network stops working. That is not the case with Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise. We send a couple of friendly reminders at first. Once your subscription is, before your subscription ends, we send reminders to say, hey, your subscription is about to end. Once your official subscription has ended, there is then a grace period. I can't tell you the exact grace period, but I think it's 90 days on the grace period. And then, which is to have your fully working network management system. After that time, if you still don't renew, it drops down to what we call the Cirrus freemium version. So you do lose some features, but it's not going to stop your network from running. You're going to lose your unified access part for devices and authentication, but your network will still run, and those policies that are already set up on your network are going to keep running. But I would suggest that as the maintenance is also tied to the Cirrus of your software and hardware support, then it would be a bad idea to basically let a subscription lapse. You could change the subscription to OmniVista 2500 as well if you wanted to. So you could go to CapEx.
So there's lots of options there. Obviously, we don't want you to let it lapse, but should things change, which we all know that your networking devices will not stop working, which is good. Excellent. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, I've got somebody. Yeah, somebody was really hot during Tony's presentation and typed up 2 questions. So Tony, I think these are probably for you. If I'm wrong, I apologise. How many radios does the AL Wi-Fi 6 APs have? And I have a second question. Do you want that in a moment?
Yeah, I'll answer this one first. So yeah, again, a good question. So basically, most vendors' APs, the APs that you have at home, have 2 radios. They run at 2 different frequencies. You may have seen them when you connected via your SSIDs, 2.4 and 5 gig. So our Wi-Fi 6 APs uniquely, because I don't know any other vendor who's doing this at the moment, have 3 radios. What does that mean? That means that you've got 2 radios that are servicing your data, your users, and you've got another radio that is specifically there for monitoring your RF to make sure you've got no intrusions, to make sure your RF isn't being interfered with by noise. So we're able to do that. Not only are we able to do the monitoring completely separate, where other vendors can't do that, we could also in the future turn that 3rd radio into a data radio as well. So basically increasing your throughput by 50%.
Okay, brilliant. Tony, which ALE APs are using the new security standard WPA3?
Okay, so WPA3 came out with Wi-Fi 6 as an improvement for security. The current security that most people have on their networks at the moment is something called WPA2, but that was broken into end of last year, beginning of this year. So they brought out a new standard called WPA3, which is in all Wi-Fi 6 APs, all the new stuff. Some vendors are going to put that in a few of their older APs, but here at Alcatel, we've chosen to basically put WPA3 across all our APs. So just be aware of that. You may have some older APs that will only do WPA2, and they may not be GDPR compliant, probably going through towards the second half of next year.
Wonderful. I've got another question here. Not sure who to throw this to. It says, how does the total cost of ownership for a Stellar WLAN network compare to some of our major other competitors? So how does Stellar compared to other major competitors?
Katrina, I'll take this one. It's Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
The answer is very well. Just from experience, we recently had the opportunity to provide a like-for-like solution, a Stellar Wireless LAN, into a very large NHS hospital trust. They had an incumbent vendor, one of the major competitors that we'll all know. We priced up a 3-year support contract for a new wireless LAN to replace the incumbent vendor, and it was less than half the price commercially. The customer simply couldn't. Yes.
Who was the competition?
It was HPE Aruba.
HP.
Thank you. Okay, no.
So that just demonstrates that, given the opportunity, if any of the potential partners are out there, if you're working on, live wireless LAN opportunities, come to Novola, get a price for a Stellar wireless LAN, and I think you'll be surprised at how the overall commercials stack up.
That is a lot of savings. Good man. Katrina?
That is all the QAs I have. Yes, we are done. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, well, thanks everyone. I hope, I'm just looking at the time, look at that, 12 o'clock on the nose. If you know me, I'm not one for labouring on points, so I really do appreciate your time. Thanks guys for all the wise words and the presentations. Hope you all enjoyed it. Any questions you have, please get in touch with either Katrina, myself, Jeff, Darren, or the Alcatel guys. If you would like to take it a step further, understand about being a partner, understand maybe a bit more about the products, we can do some one-to-one sessions, COVID compliant obviously. We can talk you through what's going on and maybe even a bit more market information. So yeah, thank you very much everyone, and we'll speak to you soon.
And it's also worth saying, Mike, that there is a partner event for Alcatel-Lucent partners next Tuesday at 10 a.m. So same place.
That's a very good point. Same place. We'll be going over not only the data side of things, but we're looking at putting some incentives in place, and there'll be some exciting news. So if you want to join us, again, get in touch with any of the guys. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.
Cheers guys.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone.